Hello there, and welcome to the Superhero Hub. I'm
Too
Sam,
happy. Too happy on that.
and today we're going to be reviewing.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yep, this episode is called Self Control, and I'll let you take the lead with this one.
Last week I was slightly worried with the whole everybody is really a LMD thing, but I thought it was strong. So
Well, of course, it was going. to... Why would you have been worried for? It was obviously. It's kind of like the thing scenario. Like, you know what I mean? Everyone's an LMD, and there's only two people who are not LMDs. So it was going to be a good episode. I knew that for true. It's just like how good. You know what I mean? It would have been like a decent one. It's either going to be when Supergirl tried to do it a couple of weeks ago, and it's kind of like or it was going to be like a really good one. So carry on.
so we're left with Fitz and Simmons, right? So what with Sky? What did we know last week that Sky wasn't an LMD?
Yeah, that was kind of the issue, and by Sky you mean Daisy.
Right.
See, because they're walking through and it flashed up four of them, four detected, and there was only four in the thing. So I really don't know. That's because I was a bit confused as well. Because when they said two, I was thinking, oh, Fitz and Simmons.
Mm-hmm. And so Fitz and Simmons, I think. When did Simmons get taken? Wait, Fitz. Damn, their names. Fitz. When did Fitz get taken?
It could have been any time.
Right.
Pretty much the same time as everyone else, because everyone was separate.
Mm-hmm.
And like there was like a time leap, which still ain't really been explained on that one.
So Fitz and Simmons are trying to cover up their tracks because they think the LMDs are onto them, or that they know the LMDs want to replace them, right? That's kind of the LMDs' goal. They're trying to infiltrate S.H.I.E.L.D.
Mm-hmm.
What are they after exactly, though?
I really don't know.
No, neither do I. So
it's all part of Ratcliffe's greater plan to, like, I don't know, maybe they're trying to dismantle S.H.I.E.L.D. so then he can carry on doing what he's doing and there'll be no one to oppose him because no one else will know about it. So he can literally do whatever he wants when he wants, and like S.H.I.E.L.D's really the only thing opposing because like who else knows about his stuff, what he's doing? You'd think no one.
No one.
Yeah, that's it then.
So they managed to get away from the rest of the LMDs are making up some crap excuse, which seems ridiculous to me. Something to do with like the USSR and technology, but Fitz made up.
Yeah, but like
now it makes sense, of course, because Fitz is an LMD. We know that, but at the time, I'm thinking like, that's a terrible lie.
Yeah, but think like the other LMDs aren't going to call him up on it because that's going to make them look suspicious. So they're probably like, yeah, okay, then do your own thing.
They're not going to call him up on it because he's an LMD.
Yeah, but did they know that?
Yes.
Okay. So I didn't think they knew that.
Yeah, they know who each other is. They all know who the LMDs are.
I guess so.
And they know who Fitz is. So that's what threw me at first when he came up with that ridiculous excuse for why would they fall for it. But now it makes sense. So they go off to their... I think that may be the strongest scene in the show as well. They go off to wherever they go. And suddenly they turn on each other. And...
well, technically they didn't really, like, one was more dominant than the other one. She grabs a gun, she's pointing the gun straight at him, and, like, all of us, like, you could kind of tell that he was, like, the LMD, because he straight up puts his hand up, and then he, like, just the way he was acting, like, he was, the things he was saying made him come off guilty. Like, really made him come off guilty. So I was thinking, well, it's got to be him, not her, because it's like she's just doing like the reaction to that. She picked up the gun, like, yo, back up, and there's like, and it's just like, so.
I thought it was a strong scene. I thought it was cool. I thought, yeah, admittedly, yeah, I thought it was him as well. But he acted it pretty well, the guy, and the slitting the wrist thing was cool. But I was certain at that point it definitely wasn't. He definitely was the LMD, but. If you're going to trick her, I guess that's the way to do it. Yeah, no, we've seen this kind of scene done over and over again in movies and whatnot, and a lot of the time I'm left shouting at the screen in frustration, thinking, how can you be so stupid, don't put the gun down? But the dude just slit his wrist. I mean, okay, not bad. And then he attacks her.
Yeah.
At which point, I think then we're with. See, that's what I'm saying. Then we go to Daisy, and I couldn't remember last week whether she was an LMD or not. But Mack sends her. No, why did she go downstairs? What is she doing?
I don't really know.
Because she goes off to something, right? Do something for whatever reasons. I guess plot details.
Yeah, they're trying to get all the Inhumans together, aren't they? They're trying to get they're using her to get all the Inhumans at S.H.I.E.L.D. so then the LMDs can wipe them out.
Right. So she's gone off to do that, and suddenly Mack talks to some nomad red shirt guy, asking him where Daisy is. And in the room, she finds all these creepy LMDs of her.
Yeah.
I don't know why you need so many of them.
I can think of a few reasons why.
Keep it clean. And so she finds what I am glad for, because they do the scene between Daisy and Simmons where they don't trust each other,
Yeah.
but they don't drag it out. I was concerned we're going to have to sit through this entire episode with these two being like McCready and what's his face, the other guy in the thing.
Well, no, because I too, with her, would have been just. No, me too. Like with her, I would have been like, "Yo, use your powers." I'd be like, because they ain't kind of replicating those powers. So it was actually like probably a good thing that she wasn't the LMD.
Right, but part of the reason they could have played that was that Sky looked on the security footage and just saw the dead body of Fitz.
Mm-hmm.
But then she saw Coulson and Mack start shooting people, at which point she must have known that's not really them.
Yeah. Speaking of Coulson, he's outdone himself this episode with the worst acting.
Oh god, here we go again.
I've ever seen in my life. Like, I don't know whether he was just being wooden because he was like playing like the part of the LMD, but he was almost speaking robotic, and like it was so wooden acting. I was just thinking, Jesus Christ, he's a terrible actor. The guy's a terrible actor.
He didn't really have much to do in the episode, though.
Yeah, I know, but the way he delivered his lines, literally like some of the worst acting I've ever done. It was just like it was literally looked like it was like reading off like a piece of paper. How he was talking, it looked like he was reading it off a piece of paper. Like the pauses in between his words, I was thinking, is this guy for real? I was just like, geez, like get as less scenes as possible. And when he was trying to act all sinister as well, and it was just like, mate, you're not convincing anyone. I was just thinking, how does he get work? You know what I mean? It's like, how has he not been killed off? He's probably one of the worst actors on TV, and it's TV, you know what I mean? It's just really hammy, like the delivery. I was like, wow. I think a lot of other people will agree with me as well. I was just thinking, this guy's a rubbish actor. He's no wonder he got like a bit part in like the actual movies, like the smallest part necessary, and then he comes into this show and it's just like, is bad television acting, so I don't really want to talk that much about him. So I mean, the subplot was obviously the Russian guy. His kind of, they've kind of, Aida's really taking control now because she's got the Russian guy, and she's patched him up. Good. We'll get to that later. And another thing as well, like she pulls Radcliffe spending more time in the framework. She pulls him out, and she's like, I said, pull me out in 24 hours, and she's like, yeah, it's been 24 hours. So he's kind of losing his grip of reality a little bit, of like sense of time and stuff like that. And he even brings it up, and he says he wouldn't really know if he was in the framework or in the real world and stuff like that, because like it's kind of really difficult to distinguish. So when he said that, I was thinking, oh, that's when I started to think to myself, maybe he's literally, this is in the framework now and is imagining all this, and she's turned the tables. But it turns out it's not. So she gives him a lecture about how her kind of main things are to protect the framework and protect him, but then she kind of realizes that he's the biggest threat to the framework, so she ends up slitting his wrists and dashing him in the machine. So now he's literally his part of the framework, and she's taking control now. You could tell that anyway. You could tell she was going to take control. And you could see it coming a mile. I think, it's the classic mad scientist thing. You build your crazy creation, and your creation turns on you. We've seen it 100 times. Because I was thinking, before that actually happened, I was like, when she took the ring off the girl, that's kind of, actually, if thinking about it, that's a big scene. Because I was thinking with the whole reality thing, because in his dream, he's in the framework, when he's in the framework, he's obviously with, like, the real girl. I forget what her name is, but whoever's Aida's based on. So, like, she's obviously in that dream. She's like exactly how he remembers her, so she'll have the ring around her neck. So then I was thinking, well, the robots took and put the ring around her neck, so I was thinking, is that so? He kind of gets confused as to whether he's in the real framework or the reality, because they look the same and they've got the ring on. So I was thinking maybe that's why she took that to confuse him, but it's never been brought up or anything like that. And obviously now it's kind of been resolved. She's turned, she's whacked him in the framework. But I was thinking, maybe there was something kind of smart going on there, but obviously now they've done this, it turns out no. I think the rings that'll come back at some point. I imagine it will. It'll play something to. I thought that was that's probably the part, but they probably just abandoned it. They were like, okay, let's just speed this along instead of dragging this out, because like that would have been a real smart thing to do. But they probably thought, oh no, let's not bother. So yeah, maybe. So Daisy used her powers to convince Simmons that she is her. Yeah, and with a super hug, and vice versa, and whatever. And so they make this plan to take out the LMDs, which leads. I think it was a pretty cool scene where Daisy uses her powers, and you have the Coulson LMD survivor. So it's the Mack one that gets like melted down to its base. Yeah, by the powers. That was cool. And for the LMD of what's her face? May. May. Yeah, getting very philosophical. Yeah, that's like, I can't really say that. That's the weak link. Obviously she's starting to become a little like, move outside her lane a little bit, because they managed to convince her not to blow them up. And then, thank God, she ends up blowing up Coulson. I was like, good, let's get this. Because, I mean, again, that monologue there, so wooden, so unconvincing, so wooden. I was like, maybe this is because it's like that everyone knows there's an LMD, so it's talking like kind of robotic and really monotone. I was thinking maybe that's a robot thing. So I'll have to see him like in normal mode and remind myself, because if he's given the sort of delivery he gave in normal episodes as he did in that episode, this guy's got to go. Bad acting. Yeah, he's not going anywhere. Really low energy, bad acting. I was thinking, oh my God, like, do you think people like realising that? Maybe people like the idea of it. It's trust. He's a bad actor. I don't think it's a thespian, but I don't think you need to be Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. He has his job, he says his lines, and then he goes on. Yeah, he says them really badly. So thank God she blew him up. I was like, oh my God. So blew up
So
the base, they flew off, so now they're kind of putting themselves in the framework so
yeah,
they can find where the actual framework is. So they woke up in this perfect life where Lincoln's still alive.
no,
What?
not Lincoln.
Oh, who then?
Ward.
Okay then, you explain. I'm confused.
Ward. Okay, so it's cool, as I probably was saying. As a lot of people did. You didn't really watch the first season of the show, right? The
You
first
could
couple.
say that.
Right. So Ward, when the show began, bear with me here. When the show began, in my opinion, Ward was the absolute weak link. He was dreadful. He was no personality. There's this, shield agent that was personalityless and I'm for the job and blah blah blah, and he had a bit of a thing for Sky, as she was called back then. Then Winter Soldier came out, and the Hydra thing happened, and Ward was revealed to be a Hydra agent, and suddenly became by far the best character in the show because he was a villain and he was part of the team. It's kind of like, how it was a bit like, Rip Hunter and Legends now.
Yeah.
He was like that for S.H.I.E.L.D. The problem with that was the character had a shelf life. And so they killed him, and then his body got taken over by like a hive thing or whatever it was, and then that died as well. So Ward is the one in her idyllic life she would have been with, which I guess says something about her character as well. And yes, now Coulson, what's Coulson doing?
I don't know. Maybe he's a good actor in this dream, but what I was interested in was like what May's thing was.
Hydra.
Yeah, I mean that was confusing for me.
What's that?
I don't know. Why am I missing something? Ain't she meant to be good? And then she's in like a Hydra facility,
Yeah,
like
she
in
is.
charge.
I don't know. I mean, we're gonna have to wait for next week, I guess. But maybe we should infiltrate Hydra. The thing wasn't it. I forget. Didn't Ratcliffe say that the thing removes like one regret or something from your life?
Yeah.
So I don't know what regret is moving from her. Obviously, we know for Coulson it's joining. That's it. He was a teacher or something, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was teaching about the Inhumans, and then Mack was like in a little house, imagine, with a kid, because he picked up the bike, and it does what all bikes do when you grab it by the centre, and like the handlebars swing round into him, and then he was kind of like struggling to hold it, and that's something I noticed. It's obviously irrelevant, but like, yeah, that kind of made me laugh because like the handlebars were like messing up his shirt, and it made me laugh because I was thinking whenever I pick up like a bike like that, the handlebar and the wheel kind of swings into my leg from where I'm carrying it, and it did the same for him, and it made me laugh.
So Fitz is super rich and Simmons is dead, apparently.
Yeah. So yeah, and then right at the end of the episode, we had Mr. Head in a Jar.
Oh yeah.
So
I still don't care about him.
I mean, that's pretty next level.
I guess.
So yeah, it ends with a head in the jar.
How did you do?
So maybe that'll lead to something interesting. Let's talk numbers.
I'll go with an 8.5. I thought it was a good episode. I like the thing. I think it did Thing far better than Supergirl, like you were saying earlier.
Yeah, I think they did that pretty well. I'd give it an 8, but I wouldn't give it no 8.5. Was decent though. Very kind of like, yeah, it was done well. So yeah, don't forget to like, share, subscribe. I'm Sam.
I'm Matt.
And this has been Tell 'em.
Superhero Hub.